The Vegas Golden Knights have officially won the Stanley Cup, but we're going to go back to the beginning of the playoffs and resim everything except everyone's going to be in their prime. And our first matchup we're going to see is the Boston Bruins taking on the Florida Panthers. Can Boston get their revenge and take them out in the first round? I guess we'll have to find out. If you thought Boston's team wasn't strong enough, they're getting improvements to the forward core in Taylor Hall, David Krejci, and Nick Foligno. While on the defensive end, that's going to be looking pretty similar, but Dmitry Orlov is getting a slight upgrade. And in between the pipes, they still got Allmark and Swayman, so I don't really got to worry too much about this team. Florida Panthers are also going to be seeing some upgrades on their forward core as Patrick Hornquist is moving up to an 86 overall, while Eric Staal is going up to a 91. While on the defense end, Mark Staal is moving back up to an 89 overall, so that's going to be a massive help. And Sergei Bobrovsky, he's back in his prime, also known as the first 3 rounds of the postseason, because for those 3 rounds, he was that guy. We'll ignore what happened in the Stanley Cup Final, though. Boston's going to come out flying in Game 1 as they're taking this one 3-2, but Florida's going to be responding with 5 goals in Game 2, and they've evened this series up. The goal scoring from Florida continues as once again in Game 3, they're picking up another 5 goals, and then in Game 4, 3 unanswered from the Boston Bruins are going to be forcing overtime. With 8 minutes left in overtime, the Boston Bruins are going to be turning the puck over in the defensive zone. Florida's picking it up, and they're going to be burying this one in the back of the net, and now they're 1 game away from eliminating the Bruins once again. Not gonna lie, Boston, this is a tough look for you. And then in Game 5, we're going to have ourselves a Sergei Bobrovsky masterclass. He's picking up the show as the Florida Panthers are taking down the Boston Bruins in 5 games. Boston, I made your team even stronger, and you still couldn't beat Florida. You hate to see it, you really do. Moving on over to our next matchup in the Eastern Conference, that's going to be the Tampa Bay Lightning taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Before we get into our next matchup though, if you didn't predict the Vegas Golden Knights to win the Stanley Cup, then you have to subscribe. And if you're part of the 75% people that aren't subbed to the channel, then you're an L-mans. Plain and simple. But if you want to be a W-mans, then subscribe to the channel. Tampa's not going to see too many upgrades, but the upgrades they are seeing are going to be massive. Corey Perry is going to be improving to a 90 overall, while Patrick Maroon's moving up to an 82. By rights, I probably should have moved Steven Stamkos up to a 95 overall, but I didn't, so we're just going to move on from that. And on the defense end, we're going to see Tampa Bay legend Brett Seabrook returning to an 88 overall. Because of course, Brett Seabrook, he's had a ton of memorable moments with the Tampa Bay Lightning. And in between the pipes, we still got Vasilevsky holding it down. Looking at the Toronto Maple Leafs, there's not going to be a ton of huge upgrades, but there's a lot of guys getting upgrades. Bunting, Tavares, Wayne Simmons, Alexander Kerfoot, and Ryan O'Reilly, just to name a few. Looking at the defense, Mark Giordano is back to an 89 overall, while Jake Muzzin's up to an 85, and in between the pipes, we got ourselves a prime Matt Murray who's an 87 overall. Tampa would have full control of this game up until the final 12 minutes, where they're going to allow 4 unanswered, and Toronto's taking Game 1. But in Game 2, Vasilevsky's going to put on a masterclass, and he's picking up the show to even up this series. Tampa Bay's going to continue to roll on that momentum as they're taking Game 3 6-1, but Toronto's going to find a way to respond in Game 4, and they've evened up this series. Killorn's going to carry the way in Game 5 as he's picking up 2 goals, and Tampa's 1 game away from the second round. And in Game 6, Tampa Bay is going to be picking up 6, and they're closing this one out. Moving on over to our next Eastern Conference matchup, we have the New Jersey Devils taking on the New York Rangers. New Jersey's not really going to see any improvements to the forward core except for Andre Ply, who's moving up to an 85 overall. On the defensive end, it's looking the exact same. Yeah, basically the only guy on this team that got an upgrade was Andre Ply. The New York Rangers are a different story, however, as Patrick Kane's jumped up to a 94 overall, whereas Tarasenko's moving up to a 90. The defense is also seeing upgrades as Jacob Trouba's up to an 87 overall, while in between the pipes, Shesterkin's still going to be holding it down, but now they got themselves a solid backup in Yaroslav Halak. In Game 1, we're seeing ourselves a fantastic goaltending matchup as we're headed to overtime in a 0-0 tie. With 6 minutes left in overtime, Timo Meier's bringing the puck into the zone. He's going to send it over to Dougie Hamilton. Hamilton's going to be able to get a shot off, while Timo Meier's getting a stick on that to deflect this one to the back of the net, and New Jersey's taking Game 1. But Jersey's not going to have the lead in the series for too long because the Rangers are responding in Game 2 and they've evened this one up. So here's a sentence I never thought I would say. Capo Caco and Lafreniere are going to be leading the way in Game 2, and the Rangers now have themselves a 2-1 series lead. And the Rangers keep on rolling into Game 4. They're picking up 5 goals once again, and they've got themselves a 3-1 series lead. And the way this Rangers team looks, no one's going to be able to stop them, and they're taking the Devils out in 5 games. And yes, I forgot to jump to the final seconds of Game 5. We move on. Don't worry about it. We have our final Eastern Conference matchup of the first round. That's going to be the New York Islanders taking on the Carolina Hurricanes. Biggest upgrade the New York Islanders are going to see to their forward core is Zach Parise moving up to a 92 overall. On the defense end, it's looking the exact same, while the goaltending situation, Sorokin's still going to be the number 1 guy here, but Varlamov's now up to an 89 overall, so they got 2 solid goaltenders they can run with. It's a similar story with the Carolina Hurricanes, although they are getting a few more upgrades. Pacioretty is up to an 88 overall, while Jordan Staal is up to an 86. On the defense end, they got a 92 overall Brett Burns leading the way now, and in between the pipes, they got Freddie Anderson and Antti Ranta, 2 solid goaltenders as well. This is going to be a fantastic matchup. But due to the fantastic defense and great goaltending from these 2 teams, I can tell you right now, it's going to be a low-scoring series. The Islanders are taking Game 1 2-1, and then they're taking Game 2 2-1 as well. Game 3 is going to be an offensive masterclass from these 2 teams, as the Islanders are taking this one 1-0. And just when you thought we were going to have ourselves another 2-1 game, it's not, because Zach Parise is going to bury the empty netter, and the Islanders are taking this series in a 4-game sweep. In 4 games, there was 11 goals scored between these two teams. Just an absolute thriller. We're on to our Western Conference matchups now, and we have the Colorado Avalanche taking on the Seattle Kraken. Colorado's not going to be seeing too many upgrades to their forward core, except for Alex Galchenyuk, who's moving up to an 83. We're on the defense end, Josh Manson and Eric Johnson are both moving up to 85s. And in between the pipes, they still got Georgiev and Francouz, and those guys are sticking at their current overalls. Meanwhile, on the Seattle Kraken, Jordan Eberle's getting the biggest overall jump as he's going up to an 88. The defensive end's going to be looking the exact same, except for Adam Larson, who's moving up to an 85 overall. I think he's moving up to an 85 overall. I don't even remember his current overall. Well, in between the pipes, Grubauer's up to an 87, while Martin Jones is up to an 85. But it doesn't matter that those goaltenders are getting upgrades, because Colorado's absolutely dominating game 1. They're picking up 6 goals, and that's going to continue into game 2 as Colorado's picking up another 4, and they've got themselves a 2-0 series lead. Game 3 is going to be all Alexander Georgiev as he's picking up a 34 save shutout, and Colorado's 1 game away from the second round. But the Kraken aren't ready to fold yet as 2 third period goals are going to keep them in this series. But early into game 6, Rantanen's bringing the puck into the offensive zone. He's going to find Nathan McKinnon in the slot. McKinnon's getting a shot off, immediately getting his rebound, and he's ending Seattle's playoff hopes. Moving right on over to our next match, we have the Minnesota Wild taking on the Dallas Stars. Minnesota's forward core is staying the exact same except for the small upgrades in Nyquist and Ryan Reeves. On the defense end, John Klingberg's returned to his prime and he's up to an 86 overall. Well, in between the pipes, one of the best goaltenders in the league, Marc-Andre Fleury, 94 overall. Minnesota's ready to go on a run. But so are the Dallas Stars, because this forward core is looking absolutely fantastic now. Jamie Benn's up to a 90, Tyler Seguin an 85, Dodonov's an 85, and Max Domi's an 86. This is easily one of the deepest forward cores we're seeing today. And then on the defense end, they got Ryan Suter up to an 89 overall, and in between the pipes, they still got Jake Ottinger and Scott Wedgwood. This is going to be a team to reckon with. And Dallas is making an absolute statement in game 1 as they're taking this one 5-1. But Minnesota is going to respond in game 2 with the help of a great game from Fleury as they're taking this one to 5-0 victory. And then in game 3, Minnesota's offense just kept on clicking as they're taking this one 4-1. Jake Ottinger would find a way to stop Minnesota's offense in game 4, and this series is all evened up. Game 5 is going to need a bit of double overtime, and with 5 minutes left, Miro Heiskanen is going to find Glendening on the doorstep. He's putting this one in the back of the net, and Dallas is now 1 game away from the second round. But as we know, the Minnesota Wild aren't going to make it easy on the Dallas Stars, and they're going to be forcing a game 7 with a 5-3 win in game 6. And in game 7, after a hard-fought battle between these two teams, Marcus Foligno is going to bury the empty netter, and the Minnesota Wild are going to defeat the Dallas Stars in 7 games. Moving right on over to our next matchup, of course, we've got the Edmonton Oilers taking on the LA Kings. The only upgrade to Edmonton's forward core is going to be Bukestad moving up to an 82 overall, while on the defensive end, we're going to see Darnell Nurse moving back up to an 88. And in between the pipes, Edmonton's officially got a goalie. They got 88 overall, Mike Smith holding it down. But of course, you can't sleep on the Los Angeles Kings. Kopitar's back up to a 90 overall, while Arvidsson's up to an 85. On the defense end, Alex Edler's back in his prime and he's an 85 overall, and so is Drew Doughty and he's up to a 92. But sadly, in between the pipes, Korpisalo is going to have to be the guy here. Maybe you shouldn't have traded Jonathan Quick. Connor McDavid's not going to be messing around in game 1. He's picking up 4 points, which includes a hat trick as Edmonton's taking game 1. But in game 2, it looks like Connor McDavid's going to be disappearing, so the Kings are taking this one 4-2. Game 3 would be back and forth the entire way, and now we need some overtime. In the final minute, Cece's going to send the puck over to Ekholm, and he's getting a shot towards the net. McDavid's going to be right on the doorstep for the rebound. He's putting this one in the back of the net, and Edmonton's now got themselves a 2-1 series lead. And they're going to keep on moving after that. 4 goals in game 4 is giving them game 4, and then they're going to close this series out in game 5 with an empty netter from Evander Kane. We're officially down to our final match of the first round. That's going to be the Winnipeg Jets taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. Winnipeg's seen a few upgrades to the forward core. Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, Blake Wheeler, Nemestikov, and Sam Gagner are all getting upgrades. The defense isn't really going to be changing too much, and neither is the goaltending, so Hellbuck, you still got to be our guy here. So here's our most recent Stanley Cup champion in the Vegas Golden Knights. Phil the Thrill Kessel's up to an 89 overall. William Karlsson's returned to his inaugural season form, and he's up to an 86. The defense is also going to be seeing some solid upgrades as Alex Pietrangelo is up to a 91, while Alec Martinez is up to an 85, and in between the pipes, they have a 93 overall Jonathan Quick. Yeah, this was a fantastic pickup for them. And in game 1, it's an all goaltender matchup. Both goalies have been perfect so far, and now we need a bit of overtime. In the final 2 minutes of overtime, Kyle Connor's bringing the puck into the offensive zone. He's going to spot a wide open Mark Scheifele. He's getting the feed, and he's being Jonathan Quick as Winnipeg's taking game 1. In game 2, a 4-1 lead is going to be too much for Winnipeg to overcome as Vegas is evening up this series. And then in game 3, 3 unanswered in the third period for the Vegas Golden Knights are allowing them to take a 2-1 series lead. But in game 4, we're going to need a bit of overtime as we have a 3-3 tie. I've said the number 3 way too much in the past 10 seconds. Halfway into overtime with Winnipeg on the power play, they're bringing the puck into the offensive zone. Mark Scheifele is getting a quick feed from Blake Wheeler, and he's going to send that quickly over to Nikolai Ehlers, who's on the doorstep. Ehlers is putting this one in the back of the net, and Winnipeg's now tied this series at 2 games apiece. Game 5 would be a close one the entire way, but Vegas is coming out on top in a 4-2 win. But as we know, the Winnipeg Jets don't fold, and they're one of the best teams in NHL 23. They're taking Game 6 3-2, and now we need a Game 7. But in Game 7, it looks like the prime Vegas Golden Knights are just going to be too much to handle, and their Stanley Cup defense is going to continue into the second round. So with the first round of the books, we're officially down to our final 8 teams, and our first matchup is going to be the Florida Panthers taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Florida's going to have absolute control in Game 1, as they're going to be shutting out the Tampa Bay Lightning in a 5-0 win. Tampa's offense is going to be responding in Game 2, though. They're picking up 5 goals of their own. They've evened up this series. A 4-1 lead is going to be too much for the Tampa Bay Lightning to overcome, so Florida's taking the lead in this series. But once again, Tampa's going to find a way to respond in Game 4 as they're picking up 4 and they've evened up this series once again. And it looks like Tampa's finally going to be able to build on the momentum. They're picking up a 5-3 win in Game 5, and then in Game 6, they're going to be closing this one out in a dominant 7-2 victory. Moving on to our next matchup, we have a battle of New York as the Rangers are taking on the Islanders. Unlike the last series the Islanders were in, this is a high-scoring affair in Game 1 as the Rangers are taking this one 6-4. And the Rangers just keep on rolling into Game 2, they're picking up a 4-0 shutout, and in Game 3, we're going to need a bit of overtime and a 1-1 tie. Early into overtime, Josh Bailey's bringing the puck in the offensive zone. He's somehow able to get past the defenseman. He's going to find Matthew Barzal wide open on the doorstep. Barzal's burying this one in the back of the net, and the Islanders are keeping themselves in this series. And it looks like the Islanders are going to keep on rolling because they're picking up 5 goals in Game 4, and they've evened this series all up. In Game 5, we have ourselves a fantastic goaltending matchup as we're tied 1-1 after 60 minutes. Early into double overtime, Josh Bailey is going to get the offense started once again. He's going to throw a puck towards the net where Shesterkin's making the save. Zach Parise is going to be right there for the rebound. He's putting this in the back of the net, and now the Islanders are 1 game away from the conference finals. But this has been a back and forth series the entire way, so there's only one way we can end it. We're going to need Game 7. And what's more competitive than a Game 7? Overtime in Game 7, and that's where we're headed in a 4-4 tie. And for the third time in this series, it looks like the New York Rangers just can't get anything going in overtime, as the Islanders are going to be scoring the third overtime winner of the series, and they're taking out the Rangers. Shout out to Casey Cizikas. Moving on over to our Western Conference matchups, we have the Colorado Avalanche taking on the Minnesota Wild. Colorado's going to be opening the series up with a 2-0 win in Game 1, but in Game 2, we're going to need ourselves a bit of overtime as they've been exchanging goals the entire way, and we're tied 2-2 after 60 minutes. It wouldn't take long for us to find our winner because some nice passes from the Minnesota Wild's going to find Matt Zuccarello. He's cutting towards the slot, he's doing a few nice moves, and then he's going to be beating Georgiev, and Minnesota's even this series up. And they're going to keep on rolling after that, taking Game 3 3-2, and in Game 4, it was a dominant performance from the Wild. They're taking this one in a 5-1 victory, and they're 1 game away from the conference finals. But one thing we already know, the Colorado Avalanche aren't going to go down easy, so we're going to need a bit of overtime in Game 5. Just under halfway into overtime, Nichushkin's bringing the puck in the offensive zone, and he's going to sauce it over to Lehkonen. Lehkonen's going to do a move here, but Marc-Andre Fleury's making the save, but Nichushkin, he's going to go right for the rebound. He's putting this one in the back of the net, and Colorado's surviving another day. And it looks like they're surviving more than one day because Colorado's going to be taking a Game 6 win 4-2, and we're going to need ourselves Game 7. But when push came to shove, it doesn't look like the Colorado Avalanche are going to be able to complete the 3-1 series comeback, and the Minnesota Wild are taking them down. Moving on over to our final matchup of the second round, we have the Edmonton Oilers taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas is picking up 2 unanswered goals, and that's helping them take Game 1. And then in Game 2, Phil the Thrill is going to be the hero. He's picking up 2 goals, and Vegas has got themselves a 2-0 series lead. McDavid's finally able to get on the board for the Edmonton Oilers, and he's going to help lead them to a Game 3 win. But in Game 4, the offense from the Vegas Golden Knights is just too much to stop, and they now have themselves a 3-1 series lead. But one thing you can never count on is the offense of Edmonton. McDavid's picking up 2 goals in Game 5, Draisaitl and Hyman are picking up the others, and this is still a competitive series. But not only are the Vegas Golden Knights the reigning Stanley Cup champions, but now they have everyone in their prime, and they're just going to be too good of a team, so they're taking the Edmonton Oilers down in a 6-3 game. We finally reached the conference finals, and we're down to our final 4 teams, the Tampa Bay Lightning, the New York Islanders, and the Minnesota Wild and the Vegas Golden Knights. We're going to start off with our first match being the Tampa Bay Lightning taking on the New York Islanders. The Islanders are going to be picking up 2 late goals in Game 1, but it's not going to be enough, and Tampa's taking this one. In Game 2, 3 unanswered from the Lightning are helping them take this one, and then in Game 3, 3 unanswered once again are allowing them to take a 3-0 series lead. Okay, I'm not going to lie, I thought the Islanders were going to put up much more of a fight. Tampa shut them out in Game 4, and they just completed the sweep. That's a tough way to go out. Moving on to our Western Conference matchup, the Minnesota Wild are taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. Game 1 would be a close one the entire way, but Vegas is going to be coming out on top in a 3-2 victory. In Game 2, Minnesota is going to be responding with 3 unanswered goals, and they're going to be evening up the series. Game 3 would be a low-scoring affair once again, but Marchessault and Pietrangelo are both picking up goals, and Vegas is taking this one 2-1. In Game 4, Vegas is going to be picking up the first 3 goals of the game, and that's going to be too much for Minnesota to overcome, so now Vegas is 1 game away from the Stanley Cup Final. And in Game 5, Vegas' offense is finally waking up. They're going to explode for 5 goals, and now they're off to the Stanley Cup Final, taking the Minnesota Wild down in 5 games. So here we are, the Stanley Cup Final, the Tampa Bay Lightning taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. Two of the best teams in the league. Let's see who's coming out on top. Vegas is going to start the series out with 3 unanswered goals, and they're taking game 1. But of course, it should be no surprise the Tampa Bay Lightning are going to be responding. They're picking up the first 4 goals of the game, and they're evening up this series. In game 3, Tampa would have a 5-1 lead halfway through the 3rd period, and that's going to be way too much for Vegas to overcome, so Tampa's taking this one 5-3. And in game 4, we're in a similar situation, except this time Tampa's going to have a 6-1 lead heading into the 3rd period, so they now have the series almost all locked up. But Tampa might be choking this one, because entering the 3rd period, they had a 3-0 lead, and they had this game all wrapped up. But then Vegas is responding with 4 unanswered goals, and they're surviving another day. In game 6, Tampa once again is going to be blowing a 3-0 lead in the game, and now we're headed to overtime. But late in double overtime, off the faceoff, Perbix is going to get the puck over to Clorin. He's making a nice move. He's going to beat Jonathan Quick, and the Tampa Bay Lightning are Stanley Cup champions once again, defeating the Vegas Golden Knights. I'm going to keep it 1,000. I did not expect Vegas to go on a run all the way to the Stanley Cup Final after putting everyone in their prime. Because for some reason in NHL 23, I feel like this team just doesn't simulate well, and they always fall in the 1st or 2nd round. But they went on a deep postseason run, and I got nothing but respect for them. Also, congrats on the Stanley Cup. You guys deserved it.